Thanks for visiting TruthExplained.org's video YouTube channel, where we try to uncover some of the contradictions and claims that are recorded in the Bible. Now, for this contradiction, seeing as there's a movie out in the theaters called Noah, I thought I would go through and just have a little chat about the Great Flood of Noah. And the thing that's always bothered me about the flood story is how grandiose an idea the concept is. Let's forget for a moment that it's clear that the story was ripped from the Epic of Gilgamesh and other flood stories that were available at the time. And let's just focus in on what the actual record within Genesis is talking about. According to the Bible in Genesis chapter 6, Noah was about 600 years old when the floodwaters started to come onto the earth. And his sons and his daughters escaped into the ark, right? Now, try to explain how somebody so old, 500 years old, which in itself is ridiculous, but let's go down this path for a moment. How someone so old could possibly build an ark with the size that would require to be able to do. I mean, right there, that's just kind of interesting, kind of silly to even think of the possibilities of that. I can't even think of my grandfather, who couldn't even, lift his own weight in his older age. But just going on further, when we talk about in Genesis, it talks about bringing two of all living creatures, male and female, to keep alive in the ark. And of course, the answers in Genesis, the Ken Ham crew, they talk about that it's just kinds, not species. So they try to explain that away. But it's still, I mean, say there were 16,000 pairs of kinds, whatever that may be. Here's a few questions with regard to that. One of them would, in my mind, if all this water came from the heavens, the floodgates came down, and all the things that were in the ocean were the fish and the saltwater creatures, they just lived in the water. Wouldn't an influx of that amount of fresh water kill these saltwater animals? That's one of the questions. And also, how did they separate all the animals that were meat eaters, lions, tigers, and such, from other animals that were on the boat? And how did they feed them all? Now, there's one side that says that they were all essentially herbivores. Okay, fine. So where did they store all the food for all these animals? And also, when they finally did land, after apparently a dove was sent out to find dry land because apparently God wasn't speaking directly to Noah at that time for some unknown reason, what were they eating? What did these animals eat? Everything was pretty much dead, I would assume, on the land. How did they survive? So the fact that it, required a massive amount of food to be floating around for a year on a big boat is kind of interesting. It's kind of far-fetched. But also, to another greater point, the vast amount of water that would have required to be falling down onto the earth during this time is a staggering amount of water for 40 days and 40 nights. There's some calculations that talk about it being 6 inches every minute, and for it to be able to cover Mount Everest by 20 feet of water, that's a huge amount of water across the entire planet, which seems kind of far-fetched if you ask me. But further on in the story, we finally see that they have to procreate and carry on the human race, and there is a family of 8 people to populate the rest of the planet with incest. That's the only way you can describe it. It was family members, so they're the ones that had to keep the race alive, apparently. And the thing that is most sad about the Noah story, regardless of the fact of all the outrageous claims that are in the Bible when it comes to this, is this guy, Noah, essentially ended his days by getting drunk, and being naked. Genesis 9:20. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and laid uncovered in his tent. And it's kind of a sad way to end your life. It doesn't explain all the different variations of people and distinct features that we have, from Middle Eastern to Asian to African. Doesn't explain that. There's some people who will explain it by the nakedness of Noah, but I wouldn't go down that path, because to me that's bordering on the line of racism and such. Anyway, there's your Noah contradictory 101 lesson. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to get some more of these videos and updates and things of that nature. And also check out my website, truthexplained.org, where we have lots of information about biblical contradictions and the like. Thanks.